Chosen one, a pause. You didn't arrive here by chance. This is not a video, it is a visitation. Somewhere deep within the algorithm, deeper than the flicker of pixels on your screen, heaven has orchestrated this encounter. Your atmosphere has just changed, and your spirit perceived it even before your mind understood. You feel it, don't you? That tremor behind your ribcage, that heat behind your ears, that soothing silence that settles in when heaven draws near. This is not contentment, it is confirmation. The moment your spirit was waiting for didn't arrive with fanfare, but with intensity. It arrived in disguise, like a whisper you almost missed, but you didn't miss it. You stopped, and now everything is different. Tell me in the comments if your spirit leaped, because that leap was your DNA remembering its creator. This pause was your atmosphere sinking into something ancient. And that feeling of being seen at this very moment. It's not a trick, it's timing. You aren't becoming someone else, you are becoming undeniable. Breathe. The air is heavier now because you have just answered a sacred call. This is where heaven becomes personal. Yes, you have been chosen for something that cannot be taught, only revealed. Here is what no one has ever told you. God has never called you by your trauma, never. The heavens have never addressed you by your failure, your nickname, your shame, or the name given to you out of habit rather than foresight. You answered to names that sounded right, but fit you poorly. You pursued vocations that seemed close but never made sense. You modified yourself to fit into a frame too narrow for your vibrational frequency. And all this time, the angels held their breath, for heaven was waiting for the moment you would stop responding to what they called you and start remembering the name God gave you. And no, I am not talking about the name on your birth certificate. I am talking about the one God whispered to your spirit before you even had lungs, before you were even formed in your mother's womb. I knew you. This isn't just poetry. It's a prophecy. For when God says he knew you, he isn't talking about your potential. He is talking about your blueprint, your spiritual plan, your identity encoded in the celestial archives. You have always carried a name that terrified hell. That is why the fight started so early. Have you ever wondered why your childhood felt like a battlefield disguised as a playground? It wasn't just dysfunction, it was detection. The darkness recognized your frequency before you even had the words to protect it. So they tried to rename you early, too sensitive, too intense, too much, not enough. But God never flinched. He kept your true name sealed in the secret place where demons could not decode it and where trauma could not rewrite it. And now he is proclaiming it again, not as a suggestion, nor as a nickname, nor as a metaphor, but as a command. Heaven is calling your true name, and this time you are going to hear it, not with your ears, but with your essence. It will be like a sudden inner stillness, as if your soul recognized its reflection. It might feel like silence, but it will shake you like thunder. You will feel it like a tuning fork in your chest. It might happen in a dream, in a memory, in a moment of sacred calm where everything else fades away. But when it happens, you will know, because every part of you that has ever felt like an almost will suddenly feel aligned, as if you have finally come home to yourself, as if the missing piece was never outside of you. It was the divine name buried under layers of survival. So get ready. This is not a ceremony, it is a spiritual earthquake, and you, the chosen one, are the epicenter. You answered to names that were never yours, names that looked good on paper but sounded hollow in your mouth. Names imposed on you because they couldn't see the magnitude of your mission. Some labeled you according to your blood, others according to their own limitations. Still others tried to rename you with curses disguised as compliments, and you wore them out of loyalty, fear, or confusion. But your soul always knew better. It whispered against the current, it protested under the applause. I winced every time a label was uttered that did not match your deep nature, for deep within the layers of identity theft, religious costumes, and cultural programming in survival mode, there was a name that refused to die. And no, it wasn't loud, it didn't contest your circumstances, it didn't scream over your shame. It waited, like a secret rhythm vibrating in your veins, like a faint vibration under your ribs. You were born with it, heaven breathed it into your spirit as a divine password long before the world tried to lock you in with its expectations. Here is why. Jeremiah 1:05 doesn't just say you were known, it says you were set apart, sanctified by your identity even before being sanctified by your behavior and revelation. It speaks of a white stone on which a name is written, a name that only you and the one who gave it can understand. For true identity is a conversation between the creator and the creature. No one else is invited to this intimacy. Your true name is a sacred code, not a public brand. It is the name that opens locks, scrolls, the name that demons fear to utter, the name your enemies tried to bury under trauma, abandonment, and turmoil. You see, in the kingdom, names don't just identify, they prophesy. Isaiah 43 declares, "I have called you by your name, you are mine." Do you hear the weight of those words? Your name is God's possession, His work, His imprint on your soul. It is no wonder the fight was so intense, for every time a teacher mispronounced your potential, every time a parent interrupted you in anger, every time a friend joked about your sensitivity, every time you had to make yourself small to survive, a false name tried to take root. But those roots grew. Fear cannot hold the fruits of heaven, and now those old labels are cracking, that tight skin is tearing, and somewhere in you, the original sound is beginning to rise. It may come in waves, forgotten memories found again, a dream that leaves you in tears, a nickname heard only once as a child but that now resonates like thunder. God is stirring the archives. He is exhuming the ancestral blueprint. He is speaking in the silence you thought was inviolable. And when it comes, it won't just be nostalgia. It will be a true explosion, because your true name doesn't just remind you of who you are, it resets your atmosphere. It is a key, a phrase, a sound that opens the scroll sealed since the dawn of time. So don't let this moment pass. Let your spirit surrender. Heaven speaks in code, and your bones know how to translate it. And no matter who doesn't understand, they weren't meant to. It was never about recognition, but always about resurrection. You aren't just remembering who you are being renamed by the one who never forgot. You spent years believing God was silent, but the truth is He was protecting you. You mistook delay for denial, but heaven was preserving something too sacred to be unveiled prematurely. You see, the veil was not a punishment, but a protection. For if they had known who you really were back then, they would have tried to monetize it, manipulate it, or annihilate it. So God wrapped your name in silence. He let you appear ordinary. He let you go unnoticed. He let you wander in rooms where no one recognized you, not because you lacked power, but because your power was still concealed, hidden in plain sight. Did you ever wonder why relationships felt like a rehearsal, why the applause felt fake, why, despite all your efforts, you couldn't fully conform to their expectations? It's because the name they gave you never matched the secret God held over your life. You wore someone else's armor, you followed someone else's plan, you answered someone else's calling card. And your spirit couldn't breathe under all that costume, so it rebelled in silence with an inexplicable restlessness, a sacred discontent that no title, no degree, no platform could silence. For under every label they tried to stick on you was a sealed identity that did not flinch. Under pressure, God wasn't ignoring you, He was preparing you. This cocoon of delay was never a synonym for rejection, but for revelation. And as Jesus said, your hour has not yet come. You lived with a word that had a term, and now the clock is striking. Heaven is tearing the veil, and what will be revealed will not please everyone, for your emergence means the end of their illusions. The you that is about to be unveiled doesn't need validation, just heaven's permission. And guess what? That permission has already been granted. You were called by a name that survived the wilderness, a name never uttered in the abyss but that resonated loudly in the throne room. And now, the same God who let them forget you is about to announce you. But listen closely, His announcement will not look like their promotion. It will not be accompanied by fanfare, press releases, or social media notoriety. It might happen while you are folding laundry or sitting in silence, tears streaming down your cheeks for no apparent reason, other than the fact that something ancient just broke inside you. The veil doesn't lift in noise, it lifts in certainty. You will know it when it happens. You will feel the wind change, even in a windowless room. You will hear a whisper like thunder. You will feel a burn beneath your chest where the false self cracks and the true you steps onto the stage. This is your moment of exodus, the moment you realize that Egypt never carried your name. The moment you understand that your delay was not a detour, but a divine choreography. For when God hides a name, He is not cruel, He is prudent. He knows that a name unveiled too soon becomes a target, but a name revealed at the right time becomes a sword. So chosen one, you find yourself, not in the version you played, not the mask you wore to survive, but the true you, the one heaven knew, the one hell feared, the one the world is about to meet, whether it's ready or not. The shift is happening now, not next month, not next year. You can feel it in the strange tension behind your smile, in the dreams that feel like déjà vu but carry blueprints, in the conversations that suddenly seem empty, as if your spirit outgrew the dialogue mid-sentence. This is what it feels like when heaven starts speaking your name again. Don't hear it as a sound, recognize it as a vibration. It's that sacred thrill in your gut when someone unknowingly triggers your destiny. It's the way your body leans forward when the atmosphere carries something ancient, as if your bones remembered Eden. It's the subtle spiritual nausea that hits you when you try to put on old identities like new clothes and they no longer fit. Don't worry, it's not confusion, it's alignment. You aren't going crazy, you're coming home, for this is the week, the season, the moment when the veil thins and the scrolls begin to open. Heaven isn't asking for your permission, it is releasing the sound. And that sound isn't always musical. Sometimes it sounds like a memory, sometimes like silence, sometimes like your own voice but clearer, deeper, truer than ever. You might hear it in a child's laughter, in the touch of the wind on your earlobe like a kiss from the invisible, in the tears that suddenly take over your eyes when reading a word, a verse, or a scent you had forgotten, that you remembered. For the true name doesn't enter through logic. It enters the atmosphere. It is a key that opens rooms you didn't know existed. And when it manifests, don't expect fireworks. Expect clarity. Expect old temptations to fall away like dead skin. Expect your desires to evolve. Expect people to notice your change, even without saying a word. This is what happens when heaven speaks. You don't need to display the anointing, you radiate it. For right now, it isn't about a revival, but a rediscovery of your true nature, the one that has always been buried under strategy, the struggle for survival, the original design. The one that walks differently, not out of arrogance, but out of calling. And when you try to explain it, you will realize it is impossible, for the celestial frequency does not translate well into human language. Some will say you are different, others that you are distant. Let them wonder. You don't have to justify your evolution. You don't have to prove your permission, for when God speaks your name again, He doesn't care about anyone's comfort. He simply says it, and everything reacts. Your discernment sharpens, your tastes change, your atmosphere becomes sensitive to. You will pretend to go back and your spirit will start to convulse, for your true name isn't just a sound, it's a spiritual compass. It fixes on coordinates your mind didn't know existed, and now you are magnetized not by popularity, but by purpose, not by ambition, but by holiness. You aren't just remembering who you are awakening to the reason you were hidden for so long, for the moment you hear your true name, the masks fall, the costumes burn, and the real you stands tall, loved by all. Your true self is a problem for hell. This name is not ornamental, it's not cute, it's not superficial poetry, it wasn't made to be embroidered on a hoodie and worn to a religious meeting. It is a weapon, a frequency, a mission. When God names you, He doesn't do it for aesthetics, He does it to activate your aura. Abram wasn't renamed Abraham to look more spiritual, his name became a pattern for nations. Sarai wasn't renamed Sarah for marketing reasons, but to signal that the mother's womb was changing, even if logic said otherwise. Simon became Peter, not to look impressive, but because Jesus needed to speak to the rock amidst the rubble, and Jacob the deceiver, became Israel not because he earned it, but because he wrestled for it, wrestled in the darkness with God Himself, left limping but blessed with a new name. You too have limped until this moment. You wrestled with angels in your sleep. You cried into your pillows, asking why the old you had to die before the new you arrived. You wondered why it always feels like something sacred is out of reach. But listen carefully, that pain, that tension, was your spirit stretching to match the name heaven had for you, for the old name was too small for your next mission. It couldn't carry the weight of the oil on your life. So God waited. He watched how you were mislabeled and misunderstood. He watched how you contorted yourself to fit into rooms too dark for your light. And yet, He never called you by what they saw. He kept whispering the true name through your tears, the name that didn't just identify, but activated. And now that this activation is here, don't expect it to be glamorous. It can happen like a divine whip crack. One day you are crying for help, seeking meaning. The next you wake up with divine instructions that terrify your ego but set your soul on fire. For when God calls you by your true name, your false self panics. The imposter, the one who learned to please, to perform, to survive, starts to lose touch. Your fears short-circuit your defense mechanisms. Why? Because they were programmed to respond to the old name. But this name opens scrolls. This name parts Red Seas. This name awakens dormant gifts, silences old lies, and floods your life with divine upheaval. And no, you won't always feel ready, but your name doesn't wait for your confidence. It awakens your covenant. Heaven doesn't need you to feel qualified, it needs you to respond. The question is not whether you feel worthy, but whether you recognize this sound. For the sound of your true name does not flatter your ego, it summons your essence. It does not stroke your pride, it levels it. And when you finally surrender to this frequency, you stop chasing appearances and start cultivating presence. You stop auditioning for acceptance and start walking with authority. You stop trying to impress and start obeying, for this name, your true name, is not something you wear, it is something you become. You feel it now, don't you? This shift in your soul, as if a weight just fell off your chest, as if the fog you were walking through suddenly cleared and the ground beneath your feet was new and yet strangely familiar. This is the chain reaction, the spiritual domino effect that begins the moment heaven speaks your true name. Suddenly, the things that held you no longer hold. Addictions lose their flavor, codependency patterns start to malfunction. You try to go back to what was, and it's like putting a magnet against the wrong pole. Everything is repelled, for your name is not just an identification, it's an alignment. When heaven calls you, everything not aligned with that sound begins to shake. And yes, it will be disorienting. You might cry for no reason, feel lost in places where you once found comfort, feel a sudden urgency to leave rooms you once begged to be in. This is not instability, it is a readjustment. Your frequency is rising, and the low vibrations are fading. You can no longer hold on to what you have. You aren't broken, you are in the making, and everything not destined for your next dimension is respectfully dismantled. It's crazy how subtle it is, a shift in appetite, a distaste for gossip, a recoil from flattery, a sudden love for silence. Then it deepens, your dreams become more intense, your spiritual senses sharpen, your discernment strikes like lightning instead of gentle pulses. You no longer just feel energy, you read it, for your name is like a radar. And now that it has been spoken, you can no longer pretend not to see what is wrong. You start to notice the false lights, you hear the lie behind the compliment, you feel the witchcraft woven into the invitation. Your name isn't just a call, it's a key. It unlocks gifts, awakens mantles, and gives you access to a clarity you didn't know existed. But do not be mistaken, this clarity is not cruelty, it is mercy. God is filtering your circle because your next mission demands focus, and the truth is that if some of those relationships had remained, they would have corrupted the mission. You have been too faithful to low frequencies. You have tried to fit into rooms where your name has no place, atmospheres built on manipulation. God is doing you a favor by pulling you out of that illusory comfort so you can enter into divine convergence. This may look like a sudden disappearance, a distance, or a strange and inexplicable tension. Do not try to fix it, do not chase what God is removing, do not try to negotiate with those who cannot interpret your calling. This is the pruning that precedes precision, the chain reaction that sets you free from pretenses, vain efforts, and compromises. You are not losing your mind, you are losing your mask, and the true you, the one heaven named before time began, is emerging. And let me warn you, not everyone will applaud. Some will call you arrogant, others will say you have changed. Let them. When you have outgrown your old name, those still imprisoned by the past will feel abandoned, but you are not abandoning them. You are answering God. And when you do, the chain reaction continues. Your obedience becomes their awakening, your frequency becomes their mirror, and your urgency becomes their invitation. For as soon as one chosen soul remembers their name, the entire spiritual landscape transforms. And beloved, you are that change. Do not be deceived, this name is sacred, and while it is liberating, it carries weight. Not everyone will understand the gravity of what has just happened to you. They will see the change, but not the price paid. They will feel the upheaval, but not the collapse. For when heaven renames you, it breaks the pact you had with mediocrity, and that breaking is painful. This is where grief enters, not for what was lost, but for what cannot accompany you, the conversations that abruptly end, the friends who stop calling, the family members who look at you sideways as if your growth threatens their comfort. And the silence. Oh, the silence. It does not seem sacred at first. It feels like abandonment in disguise. But it is not, it is protection. God isolates you not to punish you, but to seal you, because not all ears are made to hear this frequency. If you are not careful, you will be tempted to explain it, to justify your transformation to the wrong audience, to those who liked you better when you were lost. You will find yourself unable to translate your anointing into a language that won't frighten them. Don't do it. This name was not given to you to please the crowd, but to serve the kingdom. And sometimes, that purpose requires walking alone, at least for a season. You will feel the sting. I know you will miss the sound of your old laughter, even if it was tinged with dysfunction. You will crave the ease of belonging, even if it means making yourself small to fit in. But remember, your name did not change for your comfort, but for your consecration. And consecration requires distance. It is walking in silence when you want to scream your revelation. It is carrying a fire you aren't yet allowed to throw. It is being the steward of a scroll you cannot yet pronounce. This is the sacred pain of obedience. You will feel the urge to pour yourself out, but heaven will tell you to wait. You will burn with a desire to share, but God will tell you to protect it, for some things are not meant to be explained, they are meant to be embodied. Your name is not a concept, it is a command. Walk as such, not with arrogance, but with awareness. Move through rooms like a sealed scroll, not a flyer. There is no need to shout, the frequency speaks louder than words. And yes, the grief will rise in waves. You will mourn who you used to be, because that version knew how to make people happy. You will mourn who you thought you would become, because that version was more reassuring. You will mourn what is ending, but you will also feel the holiness of what is beginning. Through it all, God will be close, not always loud, but always present. You will feel him in the silence more than ever in the noise. You will begin to recognize him in the space between words, in the sacred pauses. This is the price of being named by heaven. It is not popularity, it is proximity. And the closer you get to the throne, the fewer people can walk with you. Do not struggle, do not explain, do not dilute the oil to make others comfortable. You are carrying something sacred now, and sacred things require silence. It only takes one person to remember, one soul to awaken, one chosen one to answer the frequency, and everything begins to change. For your name is no longer just for you, it is a signal, a divine beacon embedded with coordinates and codes. When you answer it, when you stop running, minimizing, and pretending, the sound will ripple through the spiritual world like a detonation. Others will feel it, they won't know what happened, but they will feel the atmosphere shift when you arrive. They will perceive a sacred presence on your shoulders. And some, wandering in their own wilderness and desperate for confirmation, will hear your voice and recognize the echo of their own calling. Because when you speak from your true name, you don't just talk, you release. You don't just show up, you reveal. You don't need to preach, your presence becomes prophetic without you even knowing it. You become someone's confirmation, someone's wake-up call, the "I'm not crazy, I heard that too." This is how God awakens generations, through echoes, through the resonance of a frequency of obedience. You thought this was about your healing, but heaven sees your life as a ripple of remembrance. Entire lineages are waiting for you to rise, not to dominate, but to resonate. There are hidden mantles hanging over cities, waiting for the sound of your name to ring out in the atmosphere again. Every time you walk in harmony with that name, you activate those forces. You signal to the angels that a scroll has been reopened. You signal to the watchers that heaven has touched earth again through you. And hell trembles, because now that you know who you are, their final strategy, confusion, is broken. They cannot trap the one who walks in clarity. They cannot bait the one who has stopped craving applause. They cannot distract the one whose compass is calibrated by covenant and not compliments. This ripple goes deeper than emotion. It shifts tectonic plates in the spirit. It reorganizes bloodlines, heals ancestral breaches, and closes doors that trauma kept propped open. Yes, you are the first in your line to remember, and that remembrance is dangerous because it means the generational cycle is disrupted, the curse interrupted, the silence broken. That is why the warfare felt generational, because it was. But now that you have answered, the ripple turns into a roar. Others who are scattered, silent, and asleep will hear it. They won't know what woke them, but something in them will stir. Something will rise up and say, "Wait, that sound, it sounds like me." And when they find you, they won't be looking for a leader, they will be looking for a mirror. Because that is what you are now, a mirror for the forgotten, a resonance chamber for the misnamed, a walking echo of heaven's original design. So let the ripple spread. Let it disturb the stagnation. Let it awaken the survivors. You aren't here to convince anyone, you are here to vibrate the truth. And truth doesn't need to be believed, it simply enters the room and changes everything. Now that the name has been spoken, your mission changes, for revelation comes with responsibility. This is not the time to get drunk on spiritual recognition, it is a call to accountability. Your true name is not for fashion, it is for territory. You have been entrusted with something sacred, a sound too holy to be played with, a blueprint too precise to be debated in public. So guard it, not out of fear, but out of reverence. Some names lose their power when handled too lightly. You are not called to post everything you discern. You are not called to explain the frequency to ears that aren't tuned. You aren't even called to defend the name heaven has proclaimed over you. You are called to carry it with honor in silence, with an inner flame and restraint in your speech. I know it's tempting to share what has just awakened within you, to pour this oil on anyone who seems thirsty. But listen to me carefully, not all thirst is holy. Some desire your revelation only to pervert and manipulate it. Others want the glow of your frequency without the discipline behind your clarity. Do not throw pearls. Do not translate your text for those who sow confusion. Keeping silence is not arrogance, it is obedience. Even Jesus said, "Tell no one." Even the prophets were silent before the revelation. This is not about secrecy, it is strategy. Names spoken in haste become targets for war. You haven't been commissioned to fight, but names carried in silence become weapons forged in the secret place. So walk with wisdom. Discern the atmospheres. Test the conversations. Ask yourself, is this room worthy of hearing what I carry? If not, bless it and leave. You don't need everyone to understand. You need heaven to be satisfied. Heaven is watching how you carry what has just been entrusted to you. This is a test of spiritual maturity. Can you carry power without needing to display it? Can you embody your identity without seeking interpretation? Can you walk with authority without needing applause? Because this name, your true name, is not up for discussion. It is not a brand, a slogan, or something to be sold. It is the echo of who you were before the trauma, before the betrayal, before the striving, before the mask. It is who you were in Eden, and who you are becoming again. The more you protect it, the more heaven reveals to you. The more you walk in step with it, the more doors open without effort. When you stop chasing recognition and start walking with reverence, favor finds you. You won't need to knock on the door. They will recognize your knock before you even touch it, because the sound of your true name precedes you. It fills the atmosphere before you even make room for your message, but only if you have been faithful in managing it. So protect it. Walk in silence when necessary. Let your posture speak louder than your words. For what you carry now is not just oil, it is the name that makes darkness bow. This is the point of no return. Now that it has been spoken, you can't unhear it. Now that it has been felt, you can't unfeel it. Now that it has been etched into your bones, you can no longer pretend to be ordinary. You have been marked by fire. Not a destructive fire, but a purifying one. You are no longer the same, not because you changed careers or wardrobes or downloaded another prophetic app, but because the sound of your name has restructured your spiritual DNA. Even if you tried to slip back into the old mold, it would reject you. You have become unrecognizable to the version of yourself that settled for less. You have become allergic to environments that do not match your calling, and you aren't the only one noticing. Heaven notices. Hell notices. The air around you vibrates differently. Now, you speak and atmospheres shift. You sit in silence and people feel stirred. You don't even need to explain yourself anymore. Your presence testifies. For when God speaks, He doesn't just call you, He sustains you. Angels are assigned, mantles click into place, scrolls unfurl, and the path you've been praying for begins to answer to your feet. But remember, this is not the end, it is the beginning. The name was the spark, the walk is the worship. So do not rush the process. Let the name ripen in you. Let it take root. Let it change your behavior. Let it call you to deeper levels of obedience, discipline, and stillness. Because this name is your mission. You have been set apart, not for applause, but for assignment, not to impress but to intercede, not to be popular, but to be piercing. You are walking in covenant clarity now, which means distractions will scream louder and counterfeits will appear dressed in destiny's clothes. But do not be fooled. You no longer need to guess, you have been named. You no longer need to audition, you have been claimed. You no longer need to explain, you have been sealed. So remember this moment. Write it down. Mark the time. Something eternal has just embraced your timeline. Something ancient has just awakened in you, and your life will never be the same, not because of a trend, but because of holiness. Walk now as one called by fire. Walk as one who has seen the scroll with your name on it. Walk as one who has stood in the secret place and heard the echo of Isaiah 43 verse 1. I have called you by your name, you are mine. Walk as one who carries the hidden stone of Revelation 2 verse 17, a name no one knows except you and the one who gave it. Walk as one destined to shine with the clarity of Isaiah 62 verse 2, you shall be called by a new name which the mouth of the Lord will name. You are not here by accident. You are here because heaven remembered, and now you remember too. Close your eyes. Feel the echo still vibrating in you, that heat, that tremor, that quiet certainty. It is not an emotion, it is evidence. Evidence that you have just moved from identity crisis to identity clarity. Let this word take deep root. Do not rush back into the noise. Let it brand you, sear your chest, and permeate your thoughts until you no longer doubt what heaven has already done. For the world will try to rename you again. People will always speak out of their wounds. Systems will try to box you in. But you know now that none of them created you. None of them saw your scroll. None of them whispered you into existence in the dark womb of eternity. Only one did, and he is the one who just spoke your true name again. So protect it like your breath. Do not trade it for belonging. Do not bury it under the weight of busyness. Do not let fear alter its frequency. Keep the name. Cherish the name. Walk under the name. For it is no longer just a name, it is a call. The earth groans for those who know who they are. And now that you know, walk differently. Speak with conviction. Pray with heat. Love with clarity. Move with the wind of heaven at your back. Chosen one, you have been named. You have been claimed. Now, go live it out.